Hello everyone, welcome to Lukman IS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 8th November 2020. So let us see which are the important articles in today's The Hindu newspaper. Yes, so these are the important articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. One by one we will take input. First article, the context of the article is recent presidential election in US and the kind of electoral system for election of president in US is having there and the limitations of that system. This is what the article is discussing, the origin and some limitations and how it is being criticized, on what principles or what basis it is being criticized, वो इस article में दिया गया है. This becomes important for our polity paper, as we know that there is a syllabus topic that is comparison of constitutions of different countries with Indian constitution, and in that they can be asking question like presidential electoral system. So yes, we have to understand from that perspective. So yes, flaws in America's electoral system or limitations, we can say that. Recently we know that the presidential election has been the most bitterly polarized democratic exercise in recent memory. The winner, Democrat and former Vice President Joe Biden, has won 74 million votes, and his rival incumbent Republican President Donald Trump has garnered 70 million votes. Yes, the final outcome came down to the wire and hinged on narrow vote margins in handful swing states. Okay, these circumstances have fueled anger over the lack of direct representation of electoral system and has raised questions surrounding the viability of institution, the electoral college, that renders the popular vote insufficient to determine the victor. Okay, so how does the electoral college is determine work in the US presidential election? This is important for our examination. Even in prelims examination they can ask you such type of question. Some nitty-gritties are involved here. The electoral college refers to the process by which the winner of popular vote in each state is allocated a pre-specified number of electoral delegates, are called as electors, per US states, and these electors go on to decide who the president of the country will be. This is the system of election in there. So yes, there is somehow the parallels can be drawn from Indian presidential elections and US presidential elections, in a sense that they are both indirectly elected. However, we can say that there is somehow a sense of direct election in there. कैसे होता है देखते हैं हम यहाँ पे, जैसे कि आपको अभी हमने बताया कि राइट द विनर ऑफ पॉपुलर वोट इन ईच स्टेट इज allocated a pre-specified number of electoral delegates or electors. These electors are temporary in their house. However, what happens in Indian presidential elections? Indian president is elected by the elected members of state legislative assemblies, right? And they are permanently elected, right? So not permanently, we can say that for 5 years they are elected in the states. However, here these electors are temporarily elected, and when these electors in turn vote for we can say presidential elections. Okay, so let us understand what are the provisions. Electors of each state are appointed by Democratic or Republic parties and the third parties where applicable of the state. Okay, so basically here not Democratic or parties, rather we can say that the state legislature. So in that state legislature, the majority government, we can say that they decide the electors in that state. Okay, the college follows the winner takes all rule for the popular vote, giving the first candidate past the post all the electors of that state. Now this is the criticism. On the basis of this provision, it is criticized that even if one candidate in that state passes, or we can say that the 50% and above votes, garners 50% and above votes, that candidate is declared as a winner, and all the electors of that particular party, suppose Republican party candidate of the president wins all the votes, more than 50% of the votes in that state, then he is let's say we can say all the electors of that particular party are considered elected. Okay, For example, if more than 50% of the voters in North Carolina vote for Republican Party, then all the electors allocated to that state will be Republican. ठीक है. So this is the case here. Each state has the same number of electors as it does members in its congressional delegation, namely one for each member in House of Representatives and 2 senators. Yes, we know that Senate has equal number of senators. 2 होते हैं हर एक स्टेट से, 2 members in the Senate from the each state. So that is equal number. However, in House of Representatives, they are elected differently. So number of let's say those members in the House of Representatives, that number plus 2 senators, that total number is the total number of electors from that state. That total number is total number of electors from that state, and this is how the election goes on. Across the US, there are 538 total electors. To win the presidency, the candidate would be required to secure at least 270 votes in the electoral college. So this is the key here. We have to the one of the candidate who crosses this number is declared as winner. Okay. Yes. अब ये कैसे होता है? These 538 electors, once the votes are in, the electors are required to meet on the first Monday after the second Wednesday of December to cast the ballots for president and vice president. In 2020, that will be on 14th December. Now on this 14th December, officially the president of US will be declared, elected. ठीक है, अभी तो हमें पता है कि margin of vote is somehow more for Joe Biden and the number of electors in his favor are more. However, the key factor is here that those electors are we can say that not necessarily having compulsion to vote for that particular party candidate. यहाँ पे एक की हम बोल सकते हैं कि एक problem है. Largely we can say that they vote for their party candidate, but somehow in past there have been those electors which have voted against their party candidates also. ठीक है? Okay. So this is the key here. Why there is frustration over the electoral college today? Firstly, under this system, surprisingly few voters truly matter in the election. The reason is that except for the handful of swing states which have the potential to flip from one party to other, all others have historically only voted for the same party and are likely to do so in this time too. So only the swing states, we can say that that is the proportion of voters actually determined outcome in US presidential election below 10% of total population. So this is being criticized that the actual voting, the vote that is given by all the states is not actually counted, people that is not counted. How did the electoral college came into being and why has it been not replaced yet by the direct representation? Okay. So it was James Wilson of Pennsylvania, one of the founding fathers of US, who suggested the electoral college system as a compromise wherein electors would serve as informed intermediaries between the masses and their government and have independence to break from the popular vote in their states when they deem that necessary. ऐसा उनको अगर लगा कि वो स्टेट के वो पार्टी के अगेंस्ट अगर सही वोट करेंगे फॉर द प्रेसिडेंट लेट्स से कैंडिडेट, देन दे कैन ऑल्सो डू दैट. सो दिस इज द compromise between the direct representatives and the fixed kind of electoral system. Okay, so from this article you may have understood how the election to the president is conducted in US and what are the limitations. The main limitation we can say that there is very few direct representation or the votes that count in this election of only those swing states. Other states generally vote for their fixed party. हर election में वो same party को ही ज़्यादा vote देते हैं. Okay, so that's why it is being criticized. Fine. So such kind of questions you can attempt here. Compare and contrast the electoral college and system of election for presidents of US and India. सो इंडियन पार्ट के लिए आपको एम लक्ष्मीकांत में पॉलिटी में दिया गया है अच्छे से डिटेल में, हाउ द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज इलेक्टेड, व्हाट इज द इलेक्टोरल कॉलेज एंड हाउ द सिस्टम ऑफ प्रोपोर्शनल रिप्रेजेंटेशन गोज ऑन इन दिस इलेक्शन सिस्टम। डिस्कस द लिमिटेशंस ऑफ यूएस प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्टोरल सिस्टम, ये इसी आर्टिकल से आपको मिल जाएगा। फाइन, नेक्स्ट आर्टिकल, डिलीवरी ऑफ कोविड-19 वैक्सीन पोजेस अ ह्यूज चैलेंज। तो चैलेंज में यहाँ पे क्या क्या चैलेंजेस है वो दिए गए पूरे आर्टिकल में। द मेन इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट हियर वी कैन से दैट एट प्रेजेंट द गवर्नमेंट हैज आइडेंटिफाइड 4 प्रायोरिटी ग्रुप्स। फर्स्ट अमंग देम इज हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल्स, doctors, nurses, ASHA workers. Second category that includes frontline workers including police and armed forces. The third category of those aged above 50, and finally fourth category below 50 but with comorbidities. So these are the priority groups identified by the government. So yes, what is the first challenge? Deciding whom to vaccinate first may be dictated by the characteristics of the vaccine that become initially available, such as ones that are more effective in the younger population than the older one. Second challenge, main challenge we can say that comes from the keeping of that vaccines in the ultra low temperatures during distribution. Most of the COVID-19 vaccines, the RNA vaccines in particular that are in advanced stage of phase 3 trials, require minus 70 degrees Celsius, minus 80 degrees Celsius cold chain. Even the Ebola vaccine required the same kind of cold chain, cold storage. This is the main we can say challenge, the cold storage infrastructure, minus 70 degrees Celsius to minus 80 degrees Celsius. Attempts are being made to modify these vaccines and increase their stability to suit the storage temperatures conditions that are already exist in many countries of the world, but they are unlikely to become available in the first generation vaccines. Okay. Second, third important challenge we can say that, yes, it may make, yes, for the distribution it will be very important to have uninterrupted power supply. ठीक है, so infrastructure for ultra cold storage requires considerable resources because you just not need to the freezers but also the uninterrupted power supply. Okay, so it may make sense to even think about bringing people to the vaccine instead of taking vaccine to the people in some settings, right? This is we can say the feasible option. Fourth one, we can say that the next biggest challenge might be vaccinating people with 2 doses 4 weeks apart during the pandemic. Okay, and the fifth challenge we can say that with the vaccine seen as sure way to end the pandemic, if 60 to 70% of the population is to be vaccinated, the question of making vaccines available for free gains importance. Okay, so whether the vaccine will be made freely available to all of the people, and then we can understand from that that the question of free vaccination arises, the challenge that we can say that the fiscal challenge in front of the government if the vaccine is to be imported from another country. Okay, so yes, these are the challenges in vaccine delivery. Fine. Okay. Interfaith marriage conversion and the law. Examine the challenges faced by the couple in interfaith marriages in India. So recently the context of the article is that recently the UP government, Haryana government has said that they will bring a particular law, interfaith marriage law, or we can say freedom of religion law, so as to curb any forced convergence, religious convergence in the name of marriage. Okay, so what is given in this article? Some important provisions of SMA, Special Marriages Act. Special Marriage Act was enacted to facilitate marriage of couples professing different faiths and preferring civil wedding. Okay, so what are the features of this SMA? The marriage of any two persons may be solemnized under SMA subject to man having completed 21 years and women 18. Neither should have spouse living. Both should be capable of giving valid consent and should not suffer any mental disorder that renders them unfit for marriage and procreation. Parties to an intended marriage should give notice to marriage officer in the district with which one of them had resided for at least 30 days, least 30 days. Yes, the marriage has to be solemnized within 3 months of such notice, and if it is not, the fresh notice will be needed. this is important provision here. The law also provides for objections to the marriage. Any person can object to the marriage within 30 days of the publication of notice on the ground that it contravenes one of the conditions of the valid marriage. Okay, the marriage officer has to inquire into that within the 30 days. If he refuses to the permission for the marriage, an appeal can be made in the district courts and district court's decision will be final. So what are the hurdles faced by the couples? So basically the provisions related to notice, publication and objection have rendered it difficult for many people. In many cases there are threats to the lives of the applicants. Okay, these provisions have been challenged. ये जो provisions है notice और ये in the Supreme Court recently on the grounds that they violate the privacy of the couple's dignity and right to marry. Okay. Yes, what are the other options for the registration of interfaith marriages? Many opt for interfaith marriages through the relevant law of faith of one of the parties. This will involve one of them converting to the religion professed by the other. Okay, while conversion in Islam to the Islam and Christianity has formal means, there is no prescribed ceremony for conversion to Hinduism. Okay, are there laws against conversion for the sake of marriage? Yes, there are laws. In Himachal Pradesh Freedom of Religion Act 2019 and Uttarakhand Freedom of Religion Act 2018 both prohibit conversion by misrepresentation, force, fraud, undue influence, inducement, we can say allurement and by marriage. So these two states are having such kind of law, and other states are also contending to bring such law like UP, Karnataka. They have spoken for about the separate enactment of such law. Okay, yes. So from society and essay perspective, these we can say discussions are important. Those who are having sociology optional, उनके लिए बहुत ही important topic है. Fine. Lessons from Ladakh's glacial lake outburst. Yes, recently one study on the 2014 August glacial lake outburst flood hit the village Gya in Ladakh, destroying houses, fields and bridges. So yes, the explanation, scientific explanation of that lake burst has been given by this group of scientists. Imagine a bucket full of water. It can overflow when you drop stone, or the water can drain if there is hole under the bucket. Similarly, here the flooding did not happen due to spillover due to avalanche or landslide. Rather, there was thawing the ice cores in the moraines. जो moraines जो होते हैं नीचे हम बोल सकते हैं glacial deposits होते हैं, right? In NCERT 11th standard physical geography, it is given, right? So depositional features are moraines, the glacial depositional features. The team notes that such thawing of ice cores may accelerate in future due to global climate change, and therefore multiple methods for better risk assessment and early warning are needed. Not all these events have catastrophic outcomes. It largely depends on urban planning, size of the lake, distance between the lake and affected villages, valley section and some more aspects. In some cases, the cloud burst can also trigger the glacial lake outburst, such as events like Kedarnath disaster 2013. So cloud burst triggered the glacial lake outburst. Okay, so ये हमें ज्योग्राफी में और डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में इम्पॉर्टेंट है. ओके, यस. नेक्स्ट, इंडिया सक्सेसफुली लॉन्च्ड अर्थ ऑब्जर्वेशन सैटेलाइट्स EOS-01. Yes, successfully launched latest Earth observation satellite EO-1. Indian Space Research Organization workhorse PSLV C-49 injected this satellite, intended for applications in agriculture, forestry and disaster management. So what is the application of this EOS Earth observation satellite? That is for agriculture purpose, forestry and disaster management. Okay, so generally ये जो है सर्वे के लिए यूज होता है, सर्वेइंग अर्थ ऑब्जर्वेशन सैटेलाइट्स. ओके, 4 more biodiversity heritage sites for Karnataka. Yes, so Karnataka Biodiversity Board has decided to declare 4 more areas in state as biodiversity heritage site. What are these heritage sites? Biodiversity heritage site consider unique and fragile ecosystem that can be marine, coastal and we can say that inland waters, terrestrial areas. State government can notify the biodiversity heritage sites in consultation with local governing bodies under section 37 of BDA, Biological Diversity Act. Okay, so we can say that there is legal mechanism, Biological Diversity Act, under which these biodiversity heritage sites can be declared. What are these? Antarange Betta in Kolar, Adi Narayan Swami Betta in Chikballapur, Mahima Rang Betta in Nalamangala, Bengaluru, and Urumbi area in the Kumardhara river basin in Dakshin Kannada. So these are the fragile and unique ecosystems that are to be protected, conserved through declaration of biodiversity heritage sites under Biological Diversity Act 2002. Okay? Yes. So yes, these were the important articles for mains purpose and for prelims purpose. Take input accordingly, make notes from this. For further information on editorial discussion classes or ED classes, wherein in-depth analysis of all mains related articles is done by Ansari sir and team, you can contact Lukman IAS. Thank you.